Okay, so we just turned in our proving ground number 1. So if we look on our course outline, we see what's next running up to our midterm. And we are leaving September, we're going into October. So proving ground 1 is due by tonight. Because it's a proving ground, it's not an assignment, you can submit it and get credit for it even if you do miss the deadline, but it's always good to try to keep up. And what we're doing right now is we're going to introduce assignment 3. So assignment 3 is our last compositing focused raster project. It's our last project that's only raster, which is pixel-based techniques. But it makes as much of two-dimensional raster imaging as you can by being a time-based media project, right? So you can think of this as animation. And what we're going to do is we're going to feature something that we've designed already in our animation. We're going to add other things to it that we either composite or create. This is where we're allowed to draw and paint as well, create our own pixels, as long as we've used something we've already made as part of our animation. And our animation needs to feature a transformation. So a lot of this intro is going to be about your understanding what a transformation is. This is different than the legal definition for our question of the day 2, between what's derivative and what's transformative. This is about how to showcase something changing from beginning, middle to end. So it's not just a movement test. We're going to be doing this with storyboards. Your storyboard sketches are what I want you to work on for next class so that you have an idea of what you're going to do. And then we're going to work on that next class. We're going to work on that the class after that. And then it's going to be due on October 8th. So we have more time to work on this because animation is more involved. Okay. It's not something you can just cobble together in a couple hours. So we're going to be working on this for quite a while. It's good that you have your presentation, your group presentation themes, because that can be going on kind of in the background, your research and your finding examples. After we're done with assignment 3, which is due on the 8th, then we start our first vector project. And that's going to be a logo design. We're going to do Earth Day achievement badges. So it's kind of between logos and symbolic art. But that will be of your own design using vectors. And then that will be the first kind of vector that we're able to print along with 2 of our raster projects from the midterm for our midterm critique. And then we'll study for we'll review for our midterm exam, and then we'll have that, and then the critique. And then all of that's finished by the end of class on the 22nd of October. And then already on the 27th of October, you'll be thinking about what artist you want to do your final presentation. And then we go into kind of combining vectors and raster imaging for the rest of the components of the class. So always lots to do. Remember, you're invited to work on and improve past assignments, past exercises, past proving grounds, and to use lab hours for that all the way up into our very last class day of the semester. So I'm going to go to unit modules now, and we're going to go to unit 7. And the type of animation we're going to do is a very, very versatile type of animation. You'll see it everywhere, including on this page. All of these are GIF animations. You can say a GIF, you can say a GIF. It stands for Graphic Interchange Format. And it's the earliest form of digital imaging. The reason we still use it for animation is because it's incredibly efficient in terms of pixel memory. So it only allows for 256 pixel colors, and because it's so limited in colors, you can code playback into the file for online. So it automatically plays in sequence with timing. So GIF animations require no special program to play them. So how is this going to work? Not only is it a GIF animation that we're going to be learning how to do, like you see with this little button graphic animation here, we also have to feature a transformation, a change of state from beginning, middle to end. So how does this emoji project from exercise 2, how does this student transform it? in these sequential images? What's the transformation we see? So the hearts kind of appear out of nowhere and they grow. The growing of the hearts is a transformation, right? But if the hearts just appeared in the middle and then kind of moved around, that would just be a reveal. Because the hearts change from small, medium to large, right? That's a transformation. Anything else, though, besides the hearts? Because that's a really subtle one. So the expression changes. Expressions, think of your own mouth. Does your mouth transform or does it just move? This is how you can know the difference. Can I put my mouth in a default state? Okay. Then, can I get some big change to that? Now, this is how you know if it's whether a movement or a transformation. Can I move it back to that default state in one step, or do I need a middle step? So if I go, I can move it right back. So that's like moving your finger, right? It can look very different, but at any time, it can instantly go back to where it started. So that's a movement, not a transformation. So no, his mouth doesn't change, or doesn't transform, it moves. His tongue doesn't transform. It reveals itself, right? But what about his nose? His nose changes, yeah. And it can't all of a sudden go back to this without it looking weird, right? Because it grows, and so then it would have to go back, would have to go through some middle state. And then there's another transformation which is really super subtle, and you'll see it in the finished animation. You actually don't see it in these frames. Because animation takes a minimum of 9 frames for this project, and usually it's going to be more like 20 to 50 frames. Okay, so let's understand this. Here's the past student examples. You guys can see the transformation pretty clearly here. The horns is a transformation. They grow. They don't just appear. The change of color is a transformation. It doesn't just blink from yellow to purple. It goes through a transition, and it would have to transition back. The expression is a revealing of the teeth from like happiness to drooling anger. So that's enough things together that it's kind of more of a transformation than just the mouth moving. So lots of things. The eyes obviously change a lot. So there are 3 requirements for this project, 3 things you're going to turn in. The first is what I want you to start thinking about, and in an ideal world, have already when you come to class next on Wednesday. And that is a storyboard sketch. Yep, Gesundheit. I want you to have a 9-frame storyboard sketch. So 9 square frames. They can be really loose. I want you to draw them in your sketchbook with space in between them so you can make notes. And what you're going to do with those frames is determine what thing you're going to use to tell the story. We can think of that as your character. What the environment is going to be for that thing. Whether it has an environment or whether it's just empty space, you want to consider that. And then what actions happen. And the action should be the transformation. The top 3 frames are the beginning, how you set it up. The middle is the transitions, like the beginning of that transformation. The end is the end, the consequences of that transformation. So, in this one, most of the animation is actually just a moving test, what's called a walking test. That's not showcasing a transformation at all. The transformation is shown right here in the first 3 frames as it rolls out and then kind of pops out of its shell, right? So that's the transformation. Then it just moves, which is kind of boring, but it pans across this whole setting. And then it transforms again at the end and kind of curls up. And then the camera just resets. It's really nice when the animation loops. So that when your last frame sets to reset the first frame. So then it can just play endlessly and never have a jump cut. But that's not a requirement. That's just something that's nice. It's a nice finishing technique. So this is the opposite of what usually happens, where it shows a transformation in the beginning, then it's boring in the middle, and then it has a transformation at the end. This is more typical, where the beginning just kind of sets it up. You see the transformation happen in the middle, like the hat appears, the nose gets bigger, the eyes start to change, and the hearts appear, and then it ends with the tongue being fully out, and then just really quickly resets. So that other transformation is after the eyes blink, the eyes turn to hearts themselves. Now this one is a transformation of the setting rather than a transformation of the character. So even though the character is something you can experience that change of weather through, it's a beginning, middle, and end of what the temperature does. And this was the demo during our Snowmageddon. So during that semester. So being kind of frozen in place. But notice all the creature does doesn't transform, just moves. But the temperature of the setting drops around it. So the colors change, the textures change, the lighting changes, and then everything freezes over, including the character. And then it thaws out. So there's lots of ways to do this. Lots and lots of examples. You'll see them in Imgur. I have some external examples here because you'll see like really good GIF animations everywhere. So of these three, are they all transformations? Or is one of them not so much a transformation? Can you really think story-wise here? Yeah, so the third one is, I would still count this as a transformation, but it's the weakest of them, right? Because it's more a reveal. It's like a surprise reveal. That in the light of the phone, it's not a moon we're looking at, it's a person. Does that make sense? But because it's that kind of conceptual game, it does feel like a transformation from the moon to a person. Now these ones are clearly transformations, day to night. Sometimes it's just the color shift. It's pretty simple. This one is a more elaborate transformation, right? Like the skin being removed, going all the way through the muscles to the skull and then back again. What about these three? Which one of these is not a transformation? Or which more than one of these do you think is not a transformation? So the first one is just, we're just zooming in and it's just kind of a consistent movement. There's no beginning, middle, end to it. So camera moves or feature moving is not transforming. It's just moving. This one I think is pretty clearly a transformation, right? There's a change of state from beginning, middle to end. So to reset, new stuff has to happen, right? It has to be put back together. And then this one, I'd say it's a transformation very subtly just of the environment, right? Kind of like the environment can change color or weather. By this helmet gets revealed, gets dropped down, but that's just movement. But then like the beams coming out from it, that changes the environment. But that's the pretty subtle. So weakest, not quite as weak, strongest. What about all of these 9 frames? Which ones strongly show a transformation? Which ones do not show a transformation? So the trash can on fire is not a transformation. The laptop on fire is not a transformation. The flipping the hair is not a transformation, right? The dripping nose is not a transformation. So which ones are really strongly transformations? Yeah, the deflating and then having to regrow. And then, the top left, the change of colors, right? So the bottom corner, this is there to fool you, right? Because there's a lot of complex movement animation going. But it starts the same way as it ends. So it's got like the first 2 parts of a transformation. It's got a start, it's got a middle, but then it goes back to the start. So if after the movement it was something else, then it would be a transformation. Does that make sense? But if the beginning is the same as the start, then that's just a movement. All right. The trickier one is this one because it does look like the eyes totally change, but it's more just like a reveal of an expression. Okay. And then these are clearly transformations. These ones are a lot of fun. So this is who I was looking at when I designed this project. This is an artist